Hello. Happy Monday. Happy Merriment Monday. How are you? How is it going? Oh, it's snowing here. And I want to know how your weekend was. I want to know how everything in your life is. We had quite a week last week. And we had our basement flood, we had our heat stop, we had no hot water. There was quite a rain that came here in Maryland, and the people who do anything related to flooding, basements, all of those things, they're all very, very busy right now. So we're needing to get a lot of weird repairs and things done, and it's been a lot. I did a free challenge last week called the Happy 2024 Challenge, and that was really fun. And it was also a lot to do that week with all of those things happening. And I also launched something last week, and I'll share that in a minute. And those are things that were just part of my week last week. And I also want to share with you some magical moments. So that was a cool rainbow oil spill that I saw. It was like really coolly textured in the ground. And then I have this wonderful new friend, Seti, that I met last year. And we're starting to go on creative dates every month. And we went to Old Town, Ellicott City, to one of my favorite stores, the Forget Me Not Factory. And you can see one of the things that I saw there was just this painted Alice in Wonderland dollhouse, and I thought that was lovely. Oh, also, I decided randomly last week to host the No Pants subway ride. And because I used to do that in DC every year, I would go, and after the pandemic, nobody really picked it up. And I wanted to go this year, and then I realized nobody was still doing it, and I was like, I guess I'll do it. I'll just host it. And I hosted it in Baltimore, and we had like 3 news outlets come out, and I did that yesterday. So it's another thing I did this week. So you can see some legs right there from us running around the light rail and the Baltimore subway. Okay, so I'd love to know what your things were for this week. In terms of good news, let's see. My good news is that I saw these. Today's Martin Luther King Day. Sorry, this is like weirdly spaced. All of these, driving home from my TMS appointment, I saw this like beautiful signs all lined up outside of this church. And it was just these quotes from Martin Luther King, and they were all lined up. So as you drove, you got to read each one. So I took a video, but I don't know how to figure out how to put a video on top of a video in here. So here's a picture, but I did upload it to my stories on Instagram today if you want to see that. And here's a good news story from outside of my scope of the world. So this restaurant in Texas is operated by a husband and wife team, and they included this community fridge as part of their business model. And they would include like fresh meals and hydration packs that they would give out in heat waves and stuff. You know, it's really hot in Texas. And sometimes they would be refilling the fridge like 20 times a day. It was just a lifeline for people. And they've been doing that for, I think it was like 4 years, 2019. And then this past summer in 2023, they were forced to shut down due to an electrical issue, which they say was a city oversight. So I don't know, I believe that. And they started a fundraising campaign, and they reached their goal of $80,000 in 2 days. So kindness breeds kindness, and I feel like that is definitely good news. Okay, so here's something really cool. This is the thing that I launched. This is the Feel Good Troop. So let me show you what this is. So like Do you feel like you are trying to fit in a world that wasn't made for you? Like you're left-handed in a world that is made for right-handed scissors with your quirks, eccentricities, autism, mental illness, chronic pain. Oh, hello, Dawn. You're like you've been told you're too tall, you're too sensitive, you're too short, you react to loud noises, you're too logical, you're too pale, you're too brown, you're too ambitious, you're too satisfied with how things are, you're too quiet, you're too loud, you're too fidgety, you're too anything. And you're just too much, too enough, too not enough, like too weird, essentially, right? So I know that I've been told that my whole life and feel misunderstood, and that's something that, you know, a lot of us feel. So I've had experience with making membership groups for, gosh, like I guess 7, 8 years now. And I wanted to really focus on mental health now. I want to really rededicate myself to mental health. And I wanted to make a space that was accessible financially and also really simple. So this is a monthly membership with theory and tangibility, because those are the things that I need to make sure, you know, the action steps that have to be in there. And it gives you the resources to feel happy, loved, and supported, regardless of stress, grief, circumstances, and diagnoses. Because I know that life is really difficult, and it's already difficult in the world, but it's more difficult for different people like you and me. So I really want to prioritize our mental health. So when you join this, you get 27 master classes, and those are like the meat of the Merriment making program. So like if you were thinking about the Merriment makers, this is a way to kind of get a lot of that stuff of the Merriment making method, the me talking kind of stuff. You're not getting, you know, like the additional stuff in the modules, but you're getting the 101 master classes. And those are all worth $88 individually. So that's like, it's almost like $3,000 worth of master classes that you're getting just right there. And then you also get the mental health game plan. So every month there's going to be a new audio program that drops, and it's focused on mental health. And then every quarter there's a new master class, and that's exclusive to the mental health game plan and the mental health masterclass. Those are exclusive to the Feel Good Troop. And it's, again, completely focused on mental health. And then there's also group coaching and Q&A, and that's direct access to me. So any questions that you have, you can ask and just get one-on-one stuff, basically. Well, it's not one-on-one. It's however many people show up, you can ask. And all of this stuff is for $39. So like I said, the master classes, if you were to buy them individually, it would be like almost three grand for all these things. So, and you can just keep watching whatever you want. And there's other stuff in there, you know, it's like little workbooks and stuff sometimes, but yeah, it's just really simple. And yeah. Okay. And then what else did these say? Oh, this is just like me showing you some of the master classes, like giving you like a little bit of a realistic view of what some of these are. Like they're called like How to Have Fun Again, Partying with Productivity, I'm Creating Merriment in My World, Body Love, Confidence, Gratitude, Inner Child, Embrace Your Weird, How to Play, Passion and Purpose. You can see all of them on the website. They're listed out. But there's just like giving you like how cute they are. And then oh, you also get the Relieve Anxiety e-course. That's one of my top purchased e-courses ever. And that's another $111. And then 5 cents of every membership, 5 cents of every dollar. I don't know how to do math. So $39, 5 cents of every dollar. So 5 cents of 39 times. 5 cents of every dollar of the membership is donated to NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. It takes me so long to figure it out every time. I'm just like, how do you multiply? The mental health audio program and quarterly masterclasses, like I said, those are exclusive to the Feel Good Troop and can only be accessed inside this program. So if you are a merriment maker and you're thinking like, what's the difference? Because most of the stuff, if you are a merriment maker, you already have. But if you want to get this just for the quarterly masterclass and the audio program, you can do that. But if you're not a Merriment Makers member, this is like a way to start the method for basically like 90% off. And yeah, the Feel Good Troop. We're different is just right. Because we're really stressed trying to be something that isn't ourselves. And that's what I'm trying to change. Also, there's this really cute quiz that I made on there. I had fun making that. And you can go check out what merriment archetype you are. And then it tells you like what kinds of classes and stuff we have for you based on that. And that's really fun to do. I think I don't even know that I've made that live, actually. You know, I really don't know that I made that live. Let me see. Here, I'll put it in the chat. This isn't even the cute link. That's just like the like aggressively weird URL for it, but there you go. Okay. So please come join the Feel Good Troop. It's super cute, super cool, super cheap for what you're getting, super accessible. It's $39. I know that still kind of sounds like a lot of money to me for my like teenage self, but like these days that's not that much money. So, all right. Let's talk about what our topic is today for Merriment Mondays. Until we run out of time. Until it's 1 o'clock, I'll talk. All right, so fun at work. Fun at work. Oh, and if you're feeling kind, please like, subscribe, share this video, hit the like on the chat, heart anything you can heart. If you see anything you can like or heart, do that because it helps. Thank you. Okay, so there are some, oh, let me do this thing because it's cute. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whew. Oh, and I didn't even tell you how you could get to the Feel Good Troop because I'm bad at business. So it's uncustomary.org/feel-good-troop. And there's a little marquee. Pew! I'm businessing. Always forgetting to put my name on my street art. There we go. All right. Are we good now? I'll leave that up for a second. Okay. Ooh! Okay, so there are some things I want to mention first off the bat when it comes to the discussion of work, aka jobs, aka something we do in exchange for making or earning money, because honestly, this is a very touchy subject for a lot of people because it involves money, which is something many of us resent because it represents security, safety, the ability for us to have our basic needs met. So we can survive, right? Without those things, we can never really be happy. It's that simple. If we don't feel safe, we can't be happy. Last week, we talked about gratitude, and I mentioned how there are plenty of people in this world who have been born into a circumstance where their entire existence is unfortunately right now to currently wake up and find food to survive and then repeat. And that may or may not involve the exchange of money. But sometimes that's what our jobs feel like. It's just adding in a ton of steps and red tape where we have to adhere to what is or isn't appropriate in a specific environment. We have to wear an outfit where we don't want to wear, do a task we wouldn't do otherwise, feel underappreciated while we do it, walk on eggshells, and do everything someone else tells us to do when we don't understand why, so we cannot get fired and come back tomorrow to do it again so that we can make that money, so we can buy the food and other things we need to stay safe. It's just a longer way to wake up, find food, survive, repeat kind of thing, right? At the end of the day. But either way, it can feel like a state of fight or flight, and it leads to this unsustainable burnout, let alone the inability to be happy, because we're not moving up that hierarchy of needs, the pyramid. We're staying down here, the bottom. So my goal today is to acknowledge this current circumstance that we are in, provide perspective, and give ideas for A, how to advocate for our needs and rights as an employee, and B, give you some inspiration and ideas for how to mix it up and make merry what is within your scope of control in the work environment. And that includes if you are in the position of supervision, and or management in any way, because that's where the power is. Not exclusively, you have power, but still. Okay, so there are hundreds of types of jobs. There are countless job environments, and it is impossible for me or anyone else to cover them at all, let alone in one session. There are so many nuances and specificities and hybrid situations, so I cannot specifically speak to your situation in this format, like preparing something in advance, without literally speaking directly to you, like having a personal conversation with you. So instead of at any point during this thinking this doesn't specifically apply to me, please do your best to MacGyver it and think like, how could this apply to my situation? Okay. If you can't think of how it applies, feel free to ask questions while you're here, or just leave them as a comment and I will do my best to get back to you and workshop it. You can also join the Merriment Makers, because starting in 2024, every month I'm releasing an audio program, the same way that I'm releasing an audio program in the Feel Good Troop for mental health. I'm releasing an audio program on how to gamify one element of your life for fun. And this month we're doing work. So I'll actually be going into this much more in detail inside of that program. So this is literally just a taste. Like, I'm going to show you all of like the complaints, and I'm going to only touch on a couple of them today, but I'm going to do the whole thing inside the Merriment Maker. So you can find out how to get access to that at uncustomary.org/merriment-makers. Okay. And if you ever lose any of this, it's just my website, uncustomary.org. I also want to let you know that it is mostly the responsibility of management and the corporation to create a positive work environment. Most of the complaints you'll see today are the result of the system not working or being poorly structured, which I'll refer to as system sepsis. If the blood is toxic, there's only so much you can do to treat the symptoms until you actually realize what is wrong. So the system is septic, right? That said, I want you to be able to hold two beliefs at once. Like, yes, many of the systems that you work for are not ideal, and they may in fact be deeply septic. But they are also probably not fatal and can be changed. My blood has been septic before and I'm still here, right? And the only way that it can be changed is if people with positive and determined attitudes advocate for change. So like when I woke up and my blood was septic and I went to the hospital, like, it's actually a really interesting analogy when I think about it for myself. So like if I could have just done nothing, right? I could have been like, I don't know why I'm shaking. It'll pass. Or just complain about it and not go to the hospital, right? I also could have, when I got there, the doctors assumed something was really, really, really wrong with me because of how severely I was shaking. And they started doing really, really rapid, like expensive tests for me. And they went straight to the top of what they thought was wrong. And they couldn't find anything. And then they started to shrug their shoulders after many hours and just be like, And then this one person was like, has anybody done a pee test for you? And I was like, no. Kind of like a basic drill, right? I had had a urinary tract infection for like 4 years. I had no idea what a UTI was at that age, and it had just been in me for so long that my blood went septic. That's really what it was. But my point is, like, they could have done what they've done with me before, where they're just like, and many other people, right, and shrug their shoulders and send us home. We don't know, and maybe I would have died. I don't know, right? Like, eventually you'll just die, and so will systems. Your body is a system, your mind is a system, everything's systems at the end of the day. It's all logistics. But if you notice that something's wrong and you continue to say, this isn't right, and you have someone else willing to say, I agree, let's be curious together, things can change. It's a relationship. So, like, a relationship only works when you both are willing to work on yourself and the relationship. So that works and applies to a job as well. So you are in a relationship with your job. So if you're willing to work on yourself, the employer is willing to work on themselves, and you're both willing to work on the situation, which is that you are in a job together, right? You're in this relationship of work, then things can move forward. But if you know that they're not willing to work on their perspective or the things that are septic in their systems, and they're not willing to work on their collaboration with you, then it might be time for you to leave. And the same goes for you as well. And as much as we're going to talk about like things that are within your scope of control and how much is on the responsibility of that team, of the management and the corporation and the system, you are also in responsibility for your attitude, your perspective, your optimism, and the things that you can make playful. So if you are not willing to advocate and collaborate yourself, then you're not doing your part either. And this is also coming from the space of be talking, assuming you're an employee. If you are an employer, then you are deeply responsible for the morale of these systems and the efficacy of them. Okay, so this is all very much theory right now, very lofty, and we haven't really gotten into the nitty-gritty of it. So please just stay with me in this heady space. Okay. I know how exhausting it can feel to advocate for yourself, and this is part of it. It can feel like I'm advocating for my rights constantly, all day, in all areas of life. It can seem like incompetence and septic systems are rampant everywhere. Like, the frustration is very, very real. And my best advice is to feel it, acknowledge it, and release it. And I know that is a very, very oversimplified statement, and that is for the sake of time here, because that's not really what we're here to talk about today. But I do teach that much more spelled out and tangibly in my embodiment and anger modules and masterclasses, and you can get immediate access to those in the Feel Good Troop, even the one-on-one versions. And that's only $39. But anyway, my point is the main complaints we're going to go over today are based on the systems not operating well, and that's not your fault. But you still need to advocate for what is wrong about them if they haven't been brought to fruition. But even if they are brought to attention, and even if they have been brought to attention, you still need to speak up about them. It sucks. It really sucks that people know what's wrong, and that doesn't mean that they're doing anything about it. But you do this too in your life, right? Like, there's something in your life where you're like, no, I know I gotta change my oil. I know I gotta start taking vitamins. I know I gotta start stretching. I know. And then you don't do anything about it. And sometimes if someone nags you, you will. Or you have to be reminded. And we have to remember that people are people. And that people are overwhelmed just like you. And even though we should say, like, this shouldn't affect other people's, like, well-being or their finances or their stress levels, it does. Because these systems were created by flawed people. So if we continue to advocate, even though it's exhausting, things will get better. Maybe. Potentially. But they can't if we don't. So you also get to control how you respond to everything. And I know that's exhausting to hear, but it's true. You get to control what you advocate for. You get to control what you report. You get to control your knowledge and your rights. You get to control your boundaries. You get to control how much play and optimism you bring into your workplace. And if you are a supervisor, manager, boss, CEO, or anyone in any position of power at a company, I strongly urge you to think about how the people at your place of employment are able to make their job fun, if at all. I'm thinking about it now for myself. I have people I hire on contract on my team, and I know I can absolutely do better. Okay, so let's do this. So what I first want to do is take a look at the specific problems of a job environment that they're experiencing, and then come up with ideas of how to solve them. And also I want to say that sometimes just the elimination of a problem is the fun thing. While I am absolutely here to Mary Poppins and Pippi Longstocking your life, sometimes the effort to add flair to your work isn't where you want to put your energy. And that is 100% okay. So I want to give you options for just simply solving your problems that are creating issues across the board. And then I'm going to give you extra ideas for adding flair to your work. Okay? So the main complaints for an office environment are not enough feedback or communication from management, an uncomfortable temperature, too hot, too cold, too much noise, like office chatter, ambient noise, or like just construction or too many people talking on a phone, whatever, too distracting. Coworkers aren't nice, harassment or bullying, which I feel like is kind of lumped in there, but it's just more severe. Tech issues, restructuring and changes in management, being overworked, needing to be on call, and poor custodial service. So ultimately, I feel like all of these things are systemic sepsis. All of these things are systemic sepsis, with the exception of like not having nice coworkers. I mean, even that, I would say, if there's harassment and bullying going on, there should be a system in place, but you can't control how other people act and what they say, right? So every other complaint here is the result of management or corporation not thinking in advance about how the work environment would be affected by their plans or their lack of planning, right? So now that said, there is a realm of control within this spectrum of system sepsis. It's hard to say. You should not have to plan in advance or buy extra items to fix any of your work problems, right? But you can, and that eliminates your discomfort and problems. This is also a really lovely place to inject in that perspective and gratitude for what you do have and what your situation could be. Would you rather bring in a sweater or a desk fan to be more comfortable? Or would you rather live in a place without access to electricity, internet, and safe water? Do these things have to be your only options? No, not necessarily. It would be nice to have neither. But it's a good reminder that sometimes that nothing is perfect. And if we had to pick between our problems and somebody else's problems, we'd pick ours. And that's kind of a nice feeling. If you don't feel like you're getting enough feedback, let's pick one, like feedback or communication from management, then I would say the only way that you're going to get it is to directly ask for it. We have to remember that managers aren't special people. They're just people. Sometimes they were just promoted and they're at home reading Management for Dummies. They might be as nervous about giving feedback as you are to ask for it. So send an email with the tone of curiosity, not judgment, and say that you're just trying to get a grasp on X, Y, and Z, and you want to make sure that things are good with them. You value them as a boss, and you would appreciate any feedback that they can give you, and you'd like to schedule an in-person meeting at their next available slot. The amount of people that I know who are really good at their jobs and have been promoted based on their performance, but they are deeply introverted and socially awkward and socially anxious is a lot. And they have come to me to be like, I have no idea how to be a team leader. It's a lot. So it's likely not personal. Most things in life aren't personal. Most of the problems on this list of office complaints, office and work environment complaints, I would say require communication to address an issue, like not working tech, implementing a boundary, like, and also that requires communication, like I cannot and will not work at this hour. Or advocating for a need, like we need more plants and noise canceling walls, which is uncomfortable for many people in this environment where the HR-ification, like everything becomes, it's just rampant with like, we're not allowed to say X, Y, and Z. You become scared of what to say. So with anything like that, I just say, instead of saying I can't do this, try to say this is happening and this is happening. So instead of saying I can't go on vacation because I have $200, say I want to go on vacation and I have $200. So now there are two things that are true. And how can you make what you want to have happen with these two things? So you want noise canceling walls and your boss is not very good with listening to feedback. Okay. It's not that you can't have noise canceling walls because your boss is not good to listening to feedback, but these two things are true. So what are the creative solutions here? What can you do instead of directly asking because you feel like they're going to say no? One, have you actually tried? Because a lot of times we assume, and that cuts off all of our options. If you have assumed something, you've cut off your own foot. So until you have actually tried, you don't come at anything. You must try first to make sure that door is closed. The next thing is to do like a creative solution. So, okay, well, now we know that that person is not the answer. So you can actually say, I'm not satisfied with this answer, and I just want to let you know that I will be seeking a creative alternative. So you can also use these things to your advantage. Like, okay, so at my job, we have to speak in this like HR language so that we don't offend anyone. So then prepare your options of how this meeting can go with these statements. You can prep them, you can rehearse them, or you could write them down and be like, okay, well, all right, so they said no, so this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to read it off and be like, okay, well, just so you know, I appreciate your response, or like whatever the fuck it is. You can even chat GB pour it. What is it? GB the robots. Ask the robots. Type in what you want to say and ask how to say it in like nice office speak. If that's not what that's for, I don't know what it is. It's not to write episodes of TV, I'll tell you that much. But do that and get like some ideas for how to say it. But basically my point is like, don't say you can't have something. Say, this is what I want, and this is also what's happening. How can I merge these two things? Okay. So those are some examples from that. And I'm going to give you, don't worry, at the end, I'm going to give you like all of the Mary Poppins ideas. These are just like problem solving to release the stress so that you can feel more secure, so that then you can have the spoons to build more flair in your life. Okay. Working from home or remotely. The major complaints here are feeling lonely, feeling isolated, disconnected from company culture, unmotivated, no routines, working in different time zones from the other people, not being able to separate work and non-work hours, not being able to unplug, having no boundaries, a lack of collaboration, not being able to brainstorm with other people, a lot of distractions from kids, pets, deliveries, social media, seeing the chores that they need to do, bad Wi-Fi, no physical activity, feeling extra sedentary. Okay, so working from home and or remotely is a relatively new thing, a new structure for people, and the systemic sepsis in this is real, but it's not really coming necessarily from anywhere except us, and we have the chance to create a completely new system from the ground floor. But you'll notice most of the complaints here come from a lack of boundaries, connection, and established like rituals. In other words, it's just too chaotic. This is the ADHD of job environments, which is ironic because I think a lot of people select this format of work who are neurodivergent. So this exacerbates their distractibility and lack of natural ability to focus. So the main course of correction for balance here is structure, no matter where you implement it. But the more structure you have, the more you'll benefit from it. And again, the people who have selected this work environment tend to be creatives, neurodivergent, and like free spirits. So the idea of structure tends to feel repulsive to them. I'm talking about me here. So the thing that you'll realize though is that structure gives you freedom. If you don't implement schedules and rituals, then you'll become somebody who works 24/7 because you end up working longer. You'll like think you can work in front of the TV, but you're really distracted. So you only get like half or less of the work done that you thought you were going to if you would have just like sat down and focused. We try to multitask constantly and everything gets stretched out. So then you end up just constantly being like half-assed doing everything. At the end of the day, that's just the answer is you half-ass a lot of stuff and you multitask. So the answer is to full ask and focus. And you can only really do that with rituals and structure. But if you do that, you create more freedom for the creativity that you really wanted in your life in the first place from having this job. Okay. Retail and food industry. This is one of the hardest ones to look at, honestly, because it's I'm not saying that other jobs aren't shitty, but this is bad. There's long shifts, no benefits, job insecurity, no paid time off. They're understaffed, there's skeletal staffing. The management is usually not trained or poorly trained. There's erratic schedules, which means that there's fluctuating income. The customers are rude and they're getting more rude and entitled. There's physical demands that can cause pain and the desire to use substances and self-medicate. There's monotonous tasks and there's just a general underappreciation. And again, a lot of these things apply to other jobs. I'm not saying that they don't. They apply to healthcare, they apply to teachers, they apply to a lot of other industries that I'm not going to cover today. But these are minimum wage positions or things that their industry is being based on tips. And there's something about this low level field where people look down on them and treat them differently. And it's just, there's no security in it. And we were talking about security overall. And this is something where there's one of the lower levels of security here. And it gives one of the least amounts of wiggle room for play, for autonomy, for independence, for freedom, for advocacy even, because of how disposable you are. And that sucks. This is a real walking on eggshell situation and feeling like you really need to take it on the chin. And again, I'm not saying that that's not the case everywhere, but this is it's just a little bit of a different vibe. And I just want to take a moment and say that I appreciate the people that are doing these jobs. I appreciate all the people that are doing the jobs, but I really do appreciate this. And I also acknowledge the way that people are walking out on these jobs lately. This generation of Gen Z that's like, we see that this isn't worth the pay. This minimum wage, it's not worth it. And minimum wage is also just demonstrating feeling underappreciated. This is literally the legal amount that we're allowed to pay you, the least. So if we could pay you less, we would. And that on its own is a feeling of a lack of worth. And unfortunately, these jobs are in systems where they're usually some of the largest corporations, which means that there's corporate policies that come from the tippy top, right? So even the managers in these positions don't really have that much autonomy themselves. It's a very tricky situation. It's very tricky. If I'm being honest, I don't have the best solution for this. This is such a septic situation. It needs a complete overhaul of empathy. And I just, I think because of how, little autonomy there is, that I want to encourage the managers and supervisors anywhere that they can to do some of the following things. Because when I was looking up and trying to get some research from what is it that you want, what would make your job better at places like Walmart or CVS or Target or things like that, the things that people were asking for were so reasonable, it was insane. It's just, we want snacks on the table. We want like donuts. We want a water cooler. We want coffee. We would like, to have something decorated in the break room. We would like more staff. We would like some paid time off. We would like better music. We don't want to listen to jazz all day. And we'd also like the music to be on louder so that we can hear it better. We'd like the ability to wear an earphone so that we can listen to our own music. We would like our complaints to be taken seriously. We would like more praise. We would like to include the overnight teams in any sort of morale boosting or any situation of any kind, to just make sure that we are remembering that these stores aren't just from this hour to this hour, and the reason that they're going includes like the people who bake the bread for Panera or the people who stock the shelves overnight. And for their ideas and suggestions to be taken into account as well. And obviously to be paid better. These are like some of the most reasonable requests I've ever seen. And honestly, like when I've seen my boyfriend work retail, and when he shifted jobs relatively recently, and he went from a place where they wouldn't even repair the air conditioning, and he was basically just working in a swamp place. And then they like, that place is horrible. And then he went to a place where they like had a food for them during the holidays, and they gave him like a gift card for not even that much at Christmas. And he was so happy and just felt like acknowledged. And it's such a small gesture, truly. Like, it's really not that much, but you can tell how much it matters. And it's the fact that other places do, kind of below the bare minimum. And that mentality encourages their employees to do the bare minimum. So the more effort the leaders put in, the more effort their employees will put in, which means the better output the whole business will experience, including the customers, including the products, everything, the whole business. The service that you get at Walmart reeks of the kind of treatment that the employees are getting. It's like how when you find out that a bully at school is actually just getting punched at home. That's the service you're getting at Walmart. It's all connected. So treatment, the way that kindness breeds kindness at the beginning, the good news, that trickles down into every level of our lives. Just little things. So can you let your employees, like, just little changes in your corporate policies? Can you let people listen to better music? Can you change it up? Can you change the genres a little bit? Can you let them listen to one earplug in their ear so they can still be attentive for customers? Can you put out a water cooler and have donuts every day and listen, have one day a month where you address complaints or listen to ideas and not pay everyone the bare minimum? Just even 50 cents more, just to demonstrate that you're not doing the bare minimum. And hire more staff so that it's not just 2 people working. And give a paid day off. And include the overnight team and decorate the break room. These things don't take that much time. Okay. So let me give you some ideas for going above and beyond, for Mary Poppinsing your life and taking in some extra effort on your own, which again shouldn't be your role unless maybe you're getting paid to be a part of the morale committee or something. But here's the thing. Nothing happens unless we do something about it. And a lot of times when we can get motivation and desire and joy out of making something more fun. So here are some fun ideas for adding to your work environment. So you can have like like in the office when they do the Dundies, you can do something like that where you acknowledge different superlatives for different people. You can also have some sort of championship thing, like the Olympics, like in the office. I know those are 2 office things back to back, but they also do it in Tacoma FD, where you just do kind of like little challenges, and it can be related to the things that you do at work. So how fast can you stock this shelf, or how, anything, like literally anything, it doesn't matter. You can make it an effort to put birthdays and anniversaries on the calendar and celebrate them with, it can be a cupcake or a card. It doesn't matter, just acknowledging them. Decorating desks, cubicles, that can be something that you do on your own, but just to actually have something that doesn't look like a gray box. Also, doing daily or weekly things like having a dry erase board of trivia or sending out an email. And it can be trivia, it can be a pun, it can be a quote, it can be anything. And if you kind of collect these things over, and bulk batch them, then you can just copy and paste every day into the email or put it up on the board in the room, in the break room. And it just adds a little bit of something. You can also have like a bulletin board that you're adding some flair to. That can be where you highlight an employee of the month or an anniversary, like so-and-so has worked here for 5 years now, or whatever. I did this thing at my old job where we had mailboxes, and I did this thing called an ad and pass. And I started off this like postcard. It was a larger piece of paper, and I drew like one thing on it, and I added some instructions with a paperclip, and I said, add one thing and pass this to the next mailbox. And it did. And then it was like this really cool collaborative piece of art at the end. You can start clubs like a book club, or I don't know, anything. You could do a potluck, you could do a talent show, you could have spirit weeks, which are just like themed days. So this day we're going to all wear something purple, or a different neck thing, or a hat, or anything. And I know that a lot of these are very privileged in a space where you don't have to wear a uniform, or there aren't strict corporate policies at like a Target or something like that. I realize that. But you can also think, like I said, where I want to do this and this is my rule. So how can we work within that? You can do contests. You can do costume contests, decorating a desk contest, pumpkin carving contests. Like I went into a Home Depot once, and there was like they had a couple teams do pumpkin carving contests, and then they put it all out on a table, and they were having the customers vote for which one they liked the best. That was cool. You can do announcements on the speaker. You could do like midday positive announcements, or good news, or quotes, or something, or positive reinforcement. You can do a group morning meditation or yoga guided. You could have a relay day or a picnic. You can encourage people to eat outdoors. You could create some sort of corner or room where there is like games or a relaxation space. You could put out a sandwich board, like, you know, how people have, or inside too, and that could be the place where you write the quotes and stuff, or the funny puns or jokes. You could have a raffle. You could do a scavenger hunt. That's one of my favorite things that I ever did at a Halloween party with my, at my old job. We went on a scavenger hunt. Also, just getting a morale committee, really. Just having a morale committee and having them devote time to thinking of ideas. Having a gratitude wall. Have people write on sticky notes and put them up, and whatever they're grateful for. Focusing on an employee of the month. Rename meetings. This is called priming. So instead of having like a morning meeting, call it like the inspiration meeting of the stars or something. Like, so making it fun to come to that meeting because it sounds inspiring. A gift exchange. Eating lunch anywhere not at your desk. Actually take your lunch. Dressing up for work, you know, putting on, doing your makeup, doing your hair, putting on an outfit that makes you feel good. Like in, what is it called? Oh God, Office Space? Office Space. Yeah, well, she actually has flair, but like in a way that you like it, not that you're forced to do it. Coming up with meeting starters, like if you ever have to go to a meeting and you're running it, you can come up with like interesting ways to start a meeting that, like, not those stupid icebreakers, but I don't know, you could start with music, or you could run in, or you could do a lap, or like, I don't know, just like be funny. Those team building games, you could do like an office Shark Tank where you let people pitch their ideas, and like do that and also include like what's going on that's wrong. You can have bring pets to work and let there be like therapy dogs and stuff. Oh, another one for the board is like a question of the day. You could have a question of the day. Playing music, just in general. Honestly, I feel like playing music and being able to tell jokes and just have an optimistic attitude as much as you possibly can, and spend time with people and take breaks. And really, I think at the end of the day, that what connects us to being human is connection to humans and creativity. Like, that's what's making this unique. So anything that you can do that is collaborative, connecting, and creative at your job that sets you off of autopilot is going to make the workday more fun. So what can you do that's not monotonous, that's taking you off autopilot, that feels interesting, that connects to your play personality, that sparks your inner child, that is getting you to connect to the person next to you, to not stay in your own head, to provide praise to someone else, to get back what you want to see, right? Peer-to-peer praise is really important. That could be part of the wall. Not just expecting that praise to come from the management, but to give it to other people laterally that are on your team. So I don't know. I think this is a great way to start, to provide looseness, to provide play, and also to remind ourselves that a lot of the things that are making us frustrated are coming from systems that are not within our control, but we can continue to advocate for what is wrong about them, to remind people what is wrong with them so that they can remind other people on our behalf. And if you are the person that is responsible for the reminding, please take this as a reminder to remind people on their behalf, because we can all move up the level of self-efficacy, self-actualization, and joy once our security is established. And that won't ever really feel established if we're constantly feeling like we're treading water at work, because it demonstrates this like picking of the scab of security. So once you feel safe and secure and happy at work, then it'll be a lot easier for you to focus on the things that actually really, really bring you joy, like your passions. And sometimes your passion is linked to your work, like mine. But if I feel like I am constantly just needing to do all of these like little administrative things so that I can like get my head above water, that's not fun for me. And I can't really put my life and my art into the passion element of it, right? So I'm just constantly stressed. So everything connects to how we can move up and feel the most ourselves. And usually that's kind of like stripping back the system of all the things that don't feel like us. And in this case, it's all of these excessive red tape things that we feel obligated to do so that we can make money to feel secure. I hope that makes sense. I hope that you feel a little bit more independent and guarded in a good way to advocate for what is within your rights and what is within your control, and know that as long as you can identify the problem of whatever is happening at your work environment, there is an opportunity to create change within it, as long as you and the other person are willing to work on both you and the problem. And it's also okay to leave if that is not happening. And I wish you the most amount of ease, security, comfort, and luck in regards to all of this. And I hope that you can have the most amount of fun with it. Okay, and if you want to join the Feel Good Troop to check out all the mental health stuff that we're going to be doing, then I would love for you to join us. And that's only $39, and it will just stay that way. And if you want to get the full-length version of this with much more ideas on how to solve the problems of the conflicts that we talked about in the work environments, and more ideas of how to Mary Poppins your work environment, then you can go over to the Merriment Makers and join us there. I love you. Remember, you have to feel good to do good, and I will see you in 2 weeks for our next Merriment Monday.